So welcome to my tutorial on lesson 5-2, which is basically the same thing we've been doing. You're going to be giving a table, and you got to write the equation of the line in the form of y equals mx plus b. So let's take a look at number 7 from your homework. Number 7, they want you to plot the points. Remember that the first value, in this case, the number of toppings is on your x-axis, and the total cost is on your y-axis. So with 0 toppings, it's going to cost $8, and so that's going to be at the point right there. 1 topping is going to cost $10. There's the point right there. And you continue with 2 toppings for $12, 3 toppings for $14, 4 toppings for $16, and 5 toppings for $18. The next thing we want to do is we don't want to connect the points, because if you look toppings, can we have a fractional value of toppings? No. So even though the points are in the shape of a line, we're not going to connect the points. And we talked about that during class a couple of weeks ago. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure we write the equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. So we got to come up with the slope, and we got to come up with the y-intercept. Let's look at the y-intercept from a table. That's going to be when x is 0, y is going to equal 8. In this case, they're using t and c, but that means our y-intercept is going to be 8. You can also look at the graph, and if you look at your graph, your y-intercept is also 8 when the x value is 0. Now, to figure out the slope, we can figure out the slope from the graph using rise over run. So our rise is going to be 2, because each increment on the y-axis, which is the total cost in this case, is by 2. So our rise is going to be 2. Our run, well, if you look on the number of toppings, the t-axis, which is our x-axis, it goes by 1. So our run is going to be positive 1, and that gives us a slope of 2. Now you can also use the table to figure out the slope, and in this case you can use any way you want, and we're going to figure out the change in y over the change in x. So if you look in the change in y, it's going by positive 2 all along the y-axis, the y table, and so we end up with a change of y of positive 2. And then the corresponding change in x is positive 1. Again, positive 1, 2 to 3, positive 1, 3 to 4, positive 1, 4 to 5 is positive 1. And so our change in x is going to be 1. And then if you simplify that, 2 once is equal to 2. And so our equation is going to be y equals 2x plus 8. Now, the answer is going to be a little bit different, because they use c for y and t for x. And so they're using the number of toppings and the total cost. Let's take a look at number 8 from your homework. Very similar. First thing you want to do is plot the points. The order pair is 0, 50, where our increments are by 50 on our y-axis and half on our x-axis. So we always want to make sure we do not get fooled by the increments. So let's go ahead and plot the point. I labeled x and y and x and y. Even though they use a and t, I just wanted to remind you guys that we use x and y. And so let's go ahead and plot the first points. Actually, I go in ahead and plotted them all just for the sake of time. 5 hours is going to be $300 charge. And so now what we want to do is we want to write the equation in the form of y equals mx plus b, which is the slope-intercept form. We got to figure out the slope, and we got to figure out the y-intercept b. The y-intercept b, from the table, you can see when x equals 0, y equals 50. Or you can use the graph. At 0 hours, how much are you being charged? $50. So the y-intercept, or the initial value, is going to be positive 50. Now we got to figure out the slope. I'm going to do it both ways like I did the previous problem. And first thing we want to do, I'm going to go ahead and do it from the graph using rise over run. So we go to our graph, and we're going from this point, and we rise because our increment's 50, so our rise is going to be 50. Now let's go back to our graph and let's figure out our run. Now remember that each increment is half. So we're moving over two grid marks, but since each one is half, our run is going to be positive 1. So that gives us a rise of 50 and a run of 1, which equals a slope of 50. Now I'm going to go ahead and do it using the table, using the change of y over the change in x. Make sure you know how to do both ways, because I can test you on either the graph. Actually, I will test you on the graph, and I will test you on the table. So let's figure out the change in y. From 50 to 100 is 50, and it continues by 50 all along. 100 to 150 plus 50 is the change. 200 to 250 plus 50. 250 to 300 plus 50. So our change in y is going to be positive 50. By the way, I forgot to mention that we do not connect the points because the number of hours, actually I should be connecting the points, and I will connect it later because you can work fractional hours. So let me go ahead and plot a point, and I'll use the color green. Oh, actually I'm going to go ahead and use my red. And my line is crooked, I apologize, but you guys have use of a ruler, I do not. So now let's go back to our table and figure out the change in x. Here from 0 to 1, the change is positive 1, and all along 1 to 2 is positive 1, 2 to 3 is positive 1, 3 to 4 is positive 1, 4 to 5 is positive 1, and so our change of x is going to be positive 1, and then we end up with the change of y of 50, a change of x of 1, and when you simplify it, you end up with 50, which is exactly what we got from the graph. So we want to write the equation in the form of y equals mx plus b, and y is going to equal, our slope is 50, so y equals 50x, and our y-intercept is positive 50, and so we end up with an equation of y equals 50x plus 50. Now ideally the right way to do it is, because in this case the y values are equal to the amount charged A, and x is equal to the number of hours t, I should be writing A equals 50t plus 50. So as you can see, what we're doing is the same thing we've been doing since the beginning of the year. Rate of change, slope, y-intercept, plotting points, rise over run. Thank you for listening to my tutorial. I hope this helps you, and have a good day.